I often wonder how much aging is actually just slowly drying out from chronic worry or discontent, constant resentment. And so today I want to talk about freedom, sovereignty, and the surprising relationship between our inner prisons and our outer vitality. You are listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern vitality. If you are seeking to reconnect with your innate vibrancy, you're in the right place. I'm Emily Davis, a seasoned holistic esthetician and herbalist. Join me as we unlock the secrets of ancient skincare practices, explore the beauty of seasonal and nature-based living, herbalism, and true holistic well-being for you and the broader ecosystem. This podcast is brought to you by Stratum Aesthetics. Head to stratumaesthetics.com to find curated skincare, body care, and other wellness products hand-selected by me. Now enjoy the show. Hello. I'm popping in today for a little mini-sode. I was planning to drop an episode about facial redness today and how I'm dealing with that on my own, and that I'm starting to notice facial redness more and more as I age and what I'm doing about it. But this morning, today's the day I'm recording, obviously. This morning I was up with Mr. Teddy, my pit bull boxer, at 3:15 in the morning. We were having a little midnight potty break, and I got to thinking, as you do, about how the 4th of July is coming up this week. And I thought it might be a fun time to talk about one of my most dearly held values, which is freedom and sovereignty, and how that intersects with this world of vitality. And as we celebrate freedom of our country, I think it's enlightening to consider where in our own lives we are unfree, because you can have external freedom and still be imprisoned by stories and beliefs. I think most of us are to some extent. I certainly am. And we can be in this bondage to so many different ideals, things like fantasy living. This is a big one for me. Just being so busy imagining your future life that you're unable to inhabit the one that you're actually in and unable to appreciate the one that you're actually in. Bondage to approval, making decisions based on others' perception of you, maybe scarcity or consumerism. I think external authority is a big one, just believing that experts know your body or your intuition or your life better than you do. Your political identity, or maybe just in bondage to always being right. We can be in bondage to healing. This is a big one in the wellness space, just this obsession with constantly needing to heal, or even like bondage to comfort. And sometimes these beliefs that we're occupied by on the surface can feel virtuous, but what they do is they scatter our life force and make us stiff and brittle, both physically and emotionally, because our body experiences our beliefs as physiology. When we're trapped in fear or constantly trying to achieve something, constantly obsessed with our goals, or angry at the world, convinced there's not enough, all of these things, our body is receiving it as a message that we need to control or we need to brace. And when the body's bracing all the time, so many different things happen. Our breathing changes, our muscles tighten. Think about why your jaw is always clenching. It's not because you're being super chill. We're just becoming less supple and less resilient. And we have less ability to lean into pleasure. And the freedom of not being run by these negative, unconscious patterns that are causing suffering is a biological need, and I would argue a prerequisite for true beauty. There's a term in Ayurveda called rasa, and this is your body's nourishing river. It's like your juiciness factor, everything that makes you supple and hydrated, resilient, and even emotionally content. And it's a term for your plasma or your lymph system. And it's also what ages you faster. I had a teacher once that said that you don't age, you dry out. And this is such an Ayurvedic lens on rasa, that we're as old as our rasa, and that our thoughts and emotions are actually causing biochemical changes in our plasma. And I find this so interesting because when we're depleted, we feel more fearful and contracted. I mean, think about the last time you were really depleted. I can think about mine, and it's so much easier for me to freak out about all of the things. But also, when we are bound to fear or hate or whatever negative feelings we're clinging to, we're going to feel more depletion. And it's this self-reinforcing loop. And we dry out from chronic fear and chronic resentment, being angry at the opposing political party, chronically waiting to manifest our dream life. Hello. I've had a real interesting relationship with manifestation ideals lately and how it actually can sometimes create suffering. Not saying that wanting more is bad. We're meant for expansion, but I think a lot of the manifesting world can set you up to be unfulfilled and unhappy in your life and unwilling to accept the surprises that God has waiting for you because of a lot of context missing in what it actually is. And so with all of this, we become emotionally crispy, and then we look in the mirror and we realize, oh my gosh, I'm looking physically crispy as well. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody lying on my treatment table wrapped in a blanket receiving this luxury facial, and they spend the entire time talking about the president or talking about how the world is a horrible place. And I'm like, you're literally in an experience designed to nourish you, and the mind is still elsewhere, just unconsciously ruminating on anger and fear and outrage. And I'm not trying to say this in judgment because I do it too. I've been on vacation obsessing about something negative, but I find it fascinating how difficult it can be to actually receive nourishment. Sometimes our prisons are just becoming so familiar that we carry them with us everywhere that we go. We're bringing them onto vacations or into meals with our loved ones, and we can be totally surrounded by beauty and still be unable to receive it, and again, unable to lean into pleasure. And where this intersects with my world is our internal landscape creates holding patterns in our physical body. And I see this every day in my one-on-one work with people because our face is this living, responsive web of muscle and fascia and nerves. And we express certain emotions and beliefs thousands of times, and they become holding patterns. And the holding patterns of these expressions become your facial posture. So this might look like furrowed lines or tension between the eyebrows, a really tight jaw. It might look like lips pressed together, and over time they start to disappear and lips are getting thinner because of holding patterns, because of our thoughts that we're thinking. We wear it in our shoulders and our neck and all over our body. And we can get all of the massage, and I'm obviously a huge proponent for facial massage. I think that facial massage in conjunction with what I'm going to talk about next is really where it's at. instead of just like massaging your face in order to snatch it back. There's this idea called moksha, which means liberation. So this is liberation from our stories and attachments and the patterns that are creating suffering in our life. And one of my favorite books in the whole world is a book called The Four Desires, Creating a Life of Purpose, Happiness, Prosperity, and Freedom by Rod Stryker. And the four desires that he talks about in the book are from Vedic philosophy. And the first one is, your first desire is a dharma. So a desire for your purpose, a desire for your unique expression of your gifts. The next is artha. This is a desire for the resources and stability for you to be able to fulfill your dharma. And then next is your kama. So this is your desire for pleasure and beauty and enjoyment, love. And the thought process is that you need this kama in order to have the artha, the resources and the stability in order to fulfill your dharma. And then finally, the fourth desire is moksha. This is the desire for liberation, for spiritual freedom from suffering, from unconsciously being run by a false identity or from fear and attachment. And what I love about this is that moksha is not saying you should forget, in order to be spiritual, you have to forget money and pleasure and this earthly world. But moksha is the balancing force so that none of these things own you. You have the freedom from consumerism, from, whatever it may be. And you get to moksha, the spiritual liberation, through, number one, awareness, understanding your thought process, through discernment, not assuming every thought that we think is reality. Non-attachment, meaning, you have goals, but your worth isn't dependent on them. Or maybe you care about politics, but you're not completely consumed by it. You've got the discernment. And then practice being present in the current moment, because it's the only place that we have agency. And then finally, coming home to your true nature, loosening the identities that have a hold on you. So with that said, this week, as we celebrate freedom and independence, things I've been asking myself is, where is my life force still occupied? Where and what is it serving? Where am I giving my sovereignty away? Is it to fear, to my phone, to what other people think of me, to old stories about who I am and what I deserve? And I've also been meditating on, if I could declare independence from one thing this year, what would it be? And I would invite you into that, because this is some of that skincare that doesn't come in the bottle. This is that temple medicine. I'll be back next week, and until then, be well. You've been listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality. If you like what you heard today, consider giving me a 5-star rating. It helps other people just like you to find the show. You can shop products and find all of my offerings on my website, stratumaesthetics.com, and follow me on my social channels @stratumaesthetics.